Hey everyone, welcome to Shop Dog Fabrication. So today what we're doing is we are changing the spark plugs on my 2016 Tacoma. This will pretty much be the same thing from 2016 through 2022. Really no difference. Mine is the V6 version. I have the TRD off-road, and so I've got the 3.5 liter V6. And so the passenger side spark plugs actually won't be that hard to do. The driver's side is going to be a little harder. So let me flip the camera around here. We'll take a look at what we're probably going to have to do to get to these things. And also show you how to check your spark plug gap, as well as the spark plugs I'm using. I'm using the factory Denso ones. Went to the dealership and picked them up. They gave me a small break on them. So, they're a pretty pricey plug. The cheapest I've seen online was like $13.58. I got them for 12 bucks a piece. And that doesn't include tax. So it came up to be like $78 with tax for 6 spark plugs. So that's pretty expensive. You can buy Autolites, they're a little cheaper, but I would recommend staying with the Denso, the factory plug for this. But anyway, let me flip the camera around to show you it looks like what we're gonna have to do. Also, just how to double check your spark plug gap, just to make sure it's accurate, and how to adjust it real quick. And then we'll get into actually removing them. So, hang tight. So this is the passenger side, and right here is one of them. There's another one underneath this bracket here. So we'll have to undo this bracket and remove, some of the wiring out of the way. And then the third one is kind of tucked right here, a little hard to see, but it is right there. You can see here's the wire going to the plug. So this is what they call coil on plug. Basically, your spark plug is buried down about, 5 inches into the cylinder head. And the wiring, you have 6 individual coil packs, and wiring going to each coil pack. So basically, you'll pull each individual coil off the spark plug, replace the spark plug, and then put the coil back on, bolt it in place. There's a 10mm bolt that holds each one of them in place, and there's an electrical connector. So that's what we need to do on this side. And I'll probably go ahead and remove this air tube. There'll be, I think there's a tube underneath and a wiring connection we'll need to undo to get this out of the way, give us a little bit more room. And then coming over to the driver's side here, this is where it's a little harder. We'll probably have to take this bracket and loosen it and see if we can get it out of the way. Same with this bracket, a bolt up top and a bolt down below, for both of these, see if we can loosen them, kind of get them out of the way. We may need to, remove this or somehow get this out of the way. I'm not sure yet. But we have 3 on this side as well that obviously we'll have to unbolt and get to. If you kind of notice, this is your cover, right? It just simply lift up from the front, and you can see it kind of hinges in the back there. So those two, these 2 stands right here, go with those. You just put it back on and push it down. But we'll just kind of pull that off for a moment. All right, guys. So here, everyone, as you can see, we have a brand new spark plug. So this is a little different design what you normally see. Normally, on I'll say a conventional spark plug, you don't see these side straps. Normally you just have, this here and then your center. So what you need to do is check your spark plug gap. These are supposed to be 0.032 for a plug gap. And you can see this is the style that I use here. So you just kind of slip it in. I'll typically start it on the low side, slide it over, and you can see it comes in at 0.032. So when I checked all of these, they all came in pre-gapped to the proper spec. But for some reason, if they don't, you need to use something like this. You can see these got these little tangs on the end. What you do is you take it, put it in here like so, and then you can bend it up or you can bend it down. Now, the reason I say use something like this is, I don't know if you can see it real close or not. So if you go to taking this in there and, put it in like so, right, and try to bend it up or bend it up to get you more clearance, you could damage this. And at $13 a piece, I don't think you guys want to do that. So I would recommend using something like this. Like I said, if you have to, you put it in there like so, and you can just give it a little tweak to give it a little more clearance up, or you can give it a little tweak, right, to give it a little clearance down. All right, guys, you can see I pulled off that tube. Basically, it was just this connection here and this clip here, which I showed you in those couple stills. I went ahead and pulled this 10mm bolt out right here. So that way I can get to the coil unplug right here that's underneath it. So again, here you can see here's one, here's two, here's number three. I went ahead and removed this wire. It's pretty simple. All you need to do is push, on this tab right here at the base, and take your time and pull it out. Don't grab it by the wires and try to jerk it out, and damage your wire, right, guys? Just take your time. Make sure you push down. Make sure you have the connector body, and take your time and wiggle it out. It will come. Just be patient. All right, so what I've done is I took out that 10mm bolt again for this bracket that covers that coil unplug. And then I went ahead and removed the other three 10mm bolts. As you can see from that coil unplug, there's that one's been removed. You can see there, that one's been removed. And underneath here, you can see right there, that one was removed. And then this little fastener is for that bracket right here. So I just set them up here out of the way. You can see just a 10mm, you can do all those. So now what we'll do is now we've got the wiring unconnected from it. We should be able to just give it a little twist. You can see it spins real easy in there, and just give her a little tug, and it slipped right out. So now we've got, you can see what I mean about how long these are. That's why I went ahead and disconnected the wiring so it'd be easy to get to. And buried down in there is your spark plug. So now what we need to do is I need to go ahead and get my spark plug socket. With my long extension here, we'll unscrew it. So I believe you'll need a 5/8 inch socket for that. I would recommend using definitely the spark plug one because it'll have the rubber boot inside. So it'll stick to it as you pull it out. So let me go ahead and grab that. It took the spark plug out. The spark plug has 100,000 miles on it. It doesn't look horrible by any means. Looks actually still in great shape. Could probably go for a while longer, but it's time to do some maintenance. So I'm going to go ahead and screw in a new spark plug, but before I do that, I'm going to put just a touch anti-seize on the threads. And the reason I want to put just a little anti-seize on there is these are steel spark plugs and aluminum cylinder heads. I want to make sure that after, another 100,000 miles, these spark plugs come out easy and they don't seize into the cylinder head and strip the threads out. So I'm just going to put just a touch of anti-seize on my new plug before I screw it in. Now guys, you can see I've got just a little anti-seize on the plug. Now when you put your new plug in, make sure you thread it in by hand. That way, remember this is a steel plug and an aluminum cylinder head. If you do not thread it in carefully, you can cross thread the aluminum cylinder head, and now you're going to have an expensive repair. So make sure you thread it in by hand. All right. Drop it down in there, take your time and thread it in by hand so it goes in nice and easy. And then you can take your ratchet and at that point in time, give it that last little snug as you get it in. All right guys, so basically I've got the plug threaded down by hand and I just give it just a little something just to make sure it's seated. You don't have to crank on this thing, right? You just need to give it a little something to make sure it's seated good. And so now what we'll do is now I'll do the other two. All right, guys, so to get this metal bracket out of the way, so I could get to that coil unplug, I also had to disconnect this connector right here. That way it made it much easier to move this bracket over and then pull the coil unplug out. I've got it all back together. So you'll have 4 bolts you need to remove on this side, the one for the bracket, the 3 for each coil on plug. So you'll have 4 bolts to put back in, and then you'll have 4 connections to make. You'll have this electrical connection, the 3 for the coil on plug, and this connector right here as well. So that's all you need to do. Now we'll go ahead and put our tube back in place, and remember to put this clip back in and also connect that hose back up. So let's go ahead and we'll put this this intake tube back in place, clip those 2 things on, and then we'll go over to the driver's side and see what we got to do over there. Hey guys, so real quick, just a tip. So here's this one bracket here. Here's the other bracket that was there. So what I did first was I took off this bolt and then this bolt, and then I loosened up the one bolt down here for this bracket, because then what I was able to do is take this bracket and slide it out of the way, and it made it much easier to get to the bottom bolt down here for this bracket. And now I can get it out of the way, and now you can see you have access to one right there, which is behind that foam block. And by the way, there is a 10mm bolt that I'll probably need to take out right there that holds that foam in place so I can get to that coil. Here's coil number 2 right here. Kind of hard to see, but there it is. And then coil number 3 is right here. Again, it's kind of hard to see, but this is what we're going to have to do to get to these 3 coils on this side of the engine. All right, let's see if we can kind of show you what I had to do to get the plugs out. So once I got the foam out, that 10mm bolt, this back plug came out real easy. Not a problem whatsoever. The middle one, I had to remove this hose right here, which goes right there. There's a little tube, connect it. Once I pulled that hose out of the way and kind of took my time and moved this wire aside, I was able to get out the second one. The front one is a treat. So I had to disconnect these 2 hoses here, which you can see connect right there. So I had to disconnect these 2 and get them out of the way. But I also needed to undo this connector here, right there. And then I also had to kind of maneuver these wires out to the side as well to get that one out. And then you got to turn it and wiggle it, and you'll finesse it out. You'll be able to get it. Just take your time. So now that I've got those out, let me go ahead and pull the plugs out of these 3. It's kind of hard to see, but basically right there is the hole. So now let me go ahead and pull these plugs out, put the new plugs in, and then we'll take our time and make sure we clip everything back into place. And there we go, guys. We got our output back together. You can see right there, we've got the foam bolted back in place. I got the 2 brackets back in place, all the hoses all clipped back into place, all the wiring harnesses all clipped back into place. Now we can go ahead and start this thing up, make sure it doesn't miss, buck, snort, fart, do anything crazy like that. And as long as it doesn't do anything crazy, we can wrap this video up. So guys, that wraps up this video. For the most part, all I needed was a 10mm, 12mm. I had both the standard and a deep for in case I needed one or the other, and then a socket, to remove the spark plugs. I did use a screwdriver to help, with the clips. But other than that, that's pretty much all I used. Just took my time, it took me a couple hours to do it, and that's just kind of screwing around and filming and everything on top of it all. So if you take your time right, it should just take you a couple hours to do it. So with that said, guys, I hope this video helps you out. And if you don't feel that you have the capability to do it, at least you know what a technician needs to go through to do it, and the costs associated. Like I said, these are expensive spark plugs, plus they're, a couple hours of their labor. So it is easily going to be probably somewhere in the $250 range, to have this kind of done by somebody. I'm going to guess. I don't know what the labor rates are, but I'm just going to take a stab at it. But with that said, guys, I hope this video helps you out. I do have other videos out there, for other maintenance on your Tacoma. With that said, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the little bells to save for future content. Please, leave comments. You know, I do try to take the time to read all the comments, things that people would want to see. So with that said, guys, I appreciate your time. You guys have a good day out in your shop, and we'll talk to y'all in the next upload. Take care.